Okay, we're getting live. We're live. I just started. Everybody has to say hi. Say hi. We'll wait a couple more minutes to see if we have any stragglers. But I'm gonna share this again in our channel. Hopefully Marco can watch it. So I think he said he's sick. Okay, we got the presentation. Oh, this does this pretty. Hello. I feel like I always think that I'm going to be like very punctual and like have more than enough time to set up and get ready here, and then someone's in the conference room, the TV doesn't work. Yeah, I mean, he had it booked right up until 5:30, so I mean, he was nice to let us come in here, but yeah, it's like the one next door is all empty. I guess we could have gone in there. I don't know. Doesn't matter. Yeah, this is ours. We claim this. So you guys have a productive 2 weeks.
Sure.
I did not. I was in Scottsdale this last week for my baby moon.
Oh,
Yeah. It was fun.
when are you due?
Due July 6th.
Okay.
So it's the same day as my husband's birthday.
Oh, wow.
He's so not happy about it.
Oh. I'm November 6th. My dad's November 4th.
Yeah, that's what you were saying.
And my dad was, he didn't have a birthday until I was like 18, and then we did co-birthdays, or probably before that, until I was like 12 or 13 or something. But
so like 13 years of no birthdays for your dad?
Yeah. No birthday whatsoever. So like 50 and 40 and 50.
Yeah.
Those were big parties. Isn't it white? Oh yeah, Jay Conroy.
Jay Conroy. At 1871, all one word. Who are we missing right now? Marco.
Jack.
Oh yeah. We can probably go over homework, and if anyone else arrives, then can jump in. Okay. Did you guys see her this week?
Yeah.
Holy crap. She's so inspirational. And then this is on her Twitter, this quote. And I'm like, this is so fitting. One day I'll strive to have her legs. So this is the first female who won the Boston Marathon since 1985. Since like forever. American woman, yeah. It's always like someone. Someone else. Kenyan, not American.
Did you see the second place winner?
No.
She's just a nobody. It was her second marathon ever.
Oh my God.
Wow. She ran the first one to qualify, and she ran the second. She ran like cross country in college, so she had something. But she's like an ER nurse or something. She has 0 sponsors.
Oh my God.
And she came in 4 minutes behind her.
So you win a pretty decent chunk of change doing that, don't you? I assume coming in. Too? I don't know.
Oh yeah, the second place she won $75,000.
Yeah.
They're gonna run it.
Yeah. She was like hoping she would place in the top 30.
Yeah.
She's like maybe.
What? That's insane.
I mean, that's cool. That's like
fast. I had a high school teacher who he like ran. He like did the like he did distance running and stuff, and I guess it's really common where you run underneath someone else's bib, And
Oh.
not for the Boston Marathon. This is for another marathon. But it's like it's frowned upon when you do that because it's like you're supposed to like health issues. You're not supposed to know who each person is when you run in the marathon. And he ended up qualifying for the Boston Marathon using someone else's bib. And I remember watching the news one night and they're like, unknown man has qualified for the Boston Marathon. And I'm just like, that's my high school teacher.
I was just there this weekend. The weather was terrible.
In Boston?
Yep.
Oh, man. Yeah, well.
I felt bad for the runners.
Well, the Chicago one, even though it's in October, sometimes it's like 80 degrees.
I guess this year was like the worst year, the worst weather in many, many years in Boston. The marathon.
Here we go.
Hey, it's our favorite dog.
Yes. I'm more than happy to share her. So this week is going to be all about marketing. Marketing. I think a lot of us get hired to help clients with marketing through design, but very rarely do we actually do it for ourselves completely from start to finish. So hopefully this will start helping you guys answer some of those questions on what you should be doing and some recommendations and tips. And then I promise before I leave tonight, I will send out the templates and worksheets because the one that I put together tonight, I think will just really help tie everything together. But first, let's go over last week's homework. I know there's some questions. So last week, we were supposed to do the steps 2 through 4 of Point Book. So setting points, service mapping, and allocating points. And then hopefully create your proposal. And I know I just sent out that template last night, but guys, just feel free to use it when you have time to get it done. So I don't know if we want to just go around the room, open up for questions.
You sent something out to us last night?
I just emailed the proposal template last night. Yes. I don't know if it gets flagged as spammy because there's a bunch of people on the email.
So I have some questions about
Yes.
points. So are printing costs or like subscriptions like Squarespace or domain name, like those kind of things, is that included in the points?
So that's kind of hard to, like, you can't, unless it's an ongoing client, then and they like bought the subscription for you, you kind of just have to like bake that stuff into your costs.
So it is baked in the cost.
Yeah, that's just part of doing business.
Okay, including like like if I did invitation design, I would have to like talk to a printer and kind of have that in mind, like how much that'll cost beforehand.
So that's it. Printing is separate. Yeah.
Okay.
So like
printing would be separate.
yeah, if we're
Okay.
talking like like if you like I have Adobe stock subscription for like $10 a month, like I don't charge my clients $10 a month. Huh?
Yours is only $10 a month.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
stocks,
that's-
not Creative Cloud.
No, I know. My stock is
No.
like $30 a month.
Really?
Unless they change the price on me and I just haven't paid attention. I don't know. It's worth it though. Like I use
Yeah.
it all the time. And then the point, like you just allocate, you get a bunch of pictures. I have like 70 pictures.
How does that work for your clients though? Like they own the rights to those pictures, or can
So
you use
technically
them
it's
in their
through me.
product?
Technically it's through me. If there is any, this is a whole nother ball game when it comes to like rights and usage, and it was a big deal when I worked at the Tribune, making sure that we had all the rights to use photos. And so if there's, I guess if you're working with a client and there's any question of like maybe you should be the person to own the rights for this, then make sure that they buy it. And I would just send them the link to put together a photo library in stock and then Adobe stock or whatever and send it to them, and then they can either buy the pictures that they want or whatnot.
So maybe like for like if they want to buy a domain name, they would have to do that themselves.
So yeah, I definitely recommend that because
Okay.
as soon as you get into the like migrating domains and hosting accounts, it gets really hairy really fast.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I would, I usually just recommend people use GoDaddy. It's easy enough to set up. Their customer service is great. I've never had any issues with their hosting.
Okay.
It's like $4 a month. You get a free domain if you're doing a website. So.
And then, sorry, there's so many questions. And then if I do a web design and it's kind of like a custom template and I'm gonna have the developer do it, would the developer, would they have to pay her separately, or would that be within the points?
That depends upon your agreement with the developer.
Okay.
And with your client. So you could be the primary point of contact with the client and then you would manage the developer, or you could send the client directly to the developer, or the developer could be part of your strategic partners in which you get some sort of referral fee for sending clients their way. There's lots of different ways that you could set that up. But, if you have experience managing websites and development process, that can be very lucrative in being the point person, because then you're also, I say there's two types of agencies. There's creative agencies where there's people that house creatives in-house in Chicago or in whatever city they're in. And then there's brokerage agencies, which annoy the crap out of me, where they're the ones that essentially go after those high value contracts and then farm out all the work to Bangladesh or wherever. And that's fine. That's a perfectly acceptable standard of business. And they have a trusted partner that is able to deliver the quality work. And if that's the route that they want to go, then that's fine. But then I feel very strongly that you're not part of the creative process per se, and you're just a broker in the transaction. So that's my feelings. But as far as forming your strategic partners, yes, you absolutely should have people who are outside of your skill sets, like a 3D designer, interior designer, a website designer or developer. And you can start, and those are really great networking connections too. You can start connecting with them and offering your services for them. A lot of times, though, you have to be careful because they'll look at you and they'll be like, great, so what's your discount for my clients? And no, you don't want to approach the conversation like that, because you don't discount your work. Whatever agreement that you would be working with them is what markup can you essentially factor into the project so that it can work out for both you guys. Make sense? Because you don't want to get stuck doing the same work for less money just because someone else gave you the lead. That doesn't make any sense. And then printing quotes and costs, yeah, so it doesn't cost you anything to get quotes. Maybe get quotes from 3 or 4 people and pass it along to client and let them make the decision. Then there's also printers that work as brokers. Printers that they're just a sales shop, and they're the ones that have deals with the different printers and whatnot. Does this help?
Yeah.
Okay.
When I was paying together points, is there a certain threshold you feel like? Because I looked through your kind of proposal template you sent out yesterday, and you had 10 points for however many. Is there a certain threshold where you feel obviously you want to say buy 50 points or whatever.
Yeah.
That's too many, but what kind
It's not too many.
Well, maybe not, but it just seems like a lot.
Yeah.
Is there any sort of threshold where people are oh, 50 is a lot, or I don't know?
It depends on the client and the project.
Okay.
I think 50 points, for an example, is a great number of points to start off for a reoccurring client per month.
Okay.
Because then it's 10 to 15 hours a week, maybe.
Okay.
And then what you should, though, factor in is figuring out what your minimum is. What's the minimum project cost that you can take?
Okay.
Because the last thing you want to do is get stuck in the project cycle where you're not making enough money on each project. So, and then I don't know if I pointed this out, but for the points, it's important to think about the points of having some sort of flexibility as well. Did we talk about this last week?
Yeah, you said an hour plus or minus 20 minutes is kind of.
Yeah, that's what I do. Plus or minus 20 minutes, 15 minutes, whatever you want that to be. As far as time tracking goes. And then, like I said, I think once you have your system set up, try and pretend like you're working with a freelancer and have someone else go through your process, and that'll like throw a wrench in everything. Like, that'll get you really starting to think about like, oh, a point really should be like 1.5 hours, not just 1 hour, and figure out what works best for you guys. But there should be some sort of flexibility. The whole reason why I came up with this point system was so that there would be a flexible scope. So that you didn't have to go back and renegotiate the terms and agreements whenever the project changed.
Is the idea too, so when you start packaging things, are you actually like reducing the point value a little bit for those packaged services to make it more, I don't know, like to sell it better? Like, hey, get the package and you're saving the cost of 4 points by doing it this way, sort of a thing. You know what I'm asking? Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, that makes sense. I think
I know
there's,
you say don't discount the work,
no, but there's definitely something to be said about you're creating your processes, and each package that you create, big or small, there's still a process that you have to go through. You still have to find the client, you have to have the preliminary conversation, you have to get them set up with your onboarding process, you have your kickoff meeting. There's like that chunk doesn't change per project. That's always going to be there. So for the larger project, that chunk stays the same size, but like potentially you're going to be saving time, as if they were, rather than like pretending like you're onboarding them between 2 different projects. Do you know what I mean?
Sure, so you can justify reducing a few points there.
And it's just part of like continuing the conversation, and the longer you guys work together, the easier it'll be, and the easier it'll be for them to understand your project management method. So there's definitely something to be said about the points, and the time does go down, because that's just how it works when you work with a client on a larger project versus a smaller project, and trying to like group them together. Okay. Yeah, so we should have, so you defined all your all of your services. We've set points, and you have packaged them together, and now you've allocated points per package. So you guys should be almost to the point now where you can do the last 2 or 3 steps, which is this next week's homework of, actually, let me just, which one? Maybe I should have put it up here. Yeah, so generating your task lists for these, and then defining your terms. That'll be this next week's homework.
Then you sell.
And then you sell.
Sell your points.
Yes. And then you sell, you guys. And then you can get really creative with your packages. Like turning them into a menu, or
I have to say,
sandwiches.
Real life example. I'm going to try and put together a scope for a project at Gensler, and I was talking to one of the leads that has been there a while, and she was saying she just found this document that was like a menu of services with like everything listed out, and she couldn't believe how long she'd worked there and not found this, and like it really helped her. So even like listing out your services and the descriptions and all of that, so that you could plug it in later. I mean, yeah, on even this a larger scale, it's amazing. Yeah, how much time you'll save.
So at Gensler, is it like 2,000 lines in a spreadsheet for all their services?
It's, I don't even know. It's really interesting how everything is put together.
Yeah.
But it's a lot of presentations like this. Like,
yeah.
But yeah. Well, it's like a Microsoft doc. Scope.
Do you ever do the points in terms of just like a round of revisions is X number of points?
Yes.
So like, I guess I had a client, they want like a new menu, right? But it's not just a menu, they want to like change their brand and look and feel, or maybe they don't know what they want,
yeah.
But they want to see a whole bunch of different ideas, right? So, you know, my average hours for a mini project, I put down at like 8, you know, like a day's worth of work maybe to go through and make like a nice menu or something like that. But if they need a lot of revisions or they don't know exactly what they want, I guess I'm having a hard time. Like, I don't want to tell them it's going to be 8 points and then it ends up taking me, you know, twice as long again because they didn't like anything the first time, or so I guess I'm wondering if I'm better off, like, instead of saying it's 8 points for a menu, it's like 2 points per rounds of revision or something like that.
Yeah, so that's usually what I do.
Yeah.
So so the concept round will be the bulk of the points. So for example, like 5 points doing 2 or 3 concepts.
Okay.
And then half point for the design review meeting, and then 1 point per revision going after that. And I'll usually try and narrow them down. So we'll start with 3, and then we'll go down to 2, and then we'll go down to 1.
The biggest thing is like not forgetting to assign points to the administrative part and then the concepting part. I think I did that a lot. It's like thinking about how much everything would be to design, like how many hours, and not remembering the like inspiration and like all of the administrative stuff, and then the like communicating with the client and consulting. Yeah. And then you're like, why does this feel like it's not that, the fee is too small? And
it goes by fast.
That's, I feel like, why.
Yeah. Yeah, and then it's so easy to just be like, oh, well, this is just a design review. I'm not actually designing. No, that's still your time. Don't forget to charge for it.
I did sell points, though, today.
You did? No way. That's awesome. How'd it go?
I sold 10 points.
Yeah. Were they, how did
I mean, I basically pitched it to them via email, like doing a point system. And was like, hey, I'm trying this new thing. It's like an agile, similar to agile development or whatever, because he knows about that. It's just like, there's flexibility with it. Here's what I'm thinking. And I sort of like gave him an outline of where I would allocate points for his project.
Save this as a template.
And then
an email template.
Got a phone call from him later, and he was like, I like it, it's great, I want to do this, but I like pointed out the wrong part of his project, I guess. Like they want like signage and menus, and the menu is more important than the signage, which was not conveyed properly in his original message. But anyway, so now I got to kind of go back and reallocate some points. But he agreed that like, at first they were just like, well, we want to see concepts. So I was like, all right, well, let's do 5 points to start. Because I kind of looked at your website and you were like, 5 points is a good place to start for many projects. And it's easy for people to wrap their head around. He's like, well, no, he's like, we're like, let's just buy a bunch right away and get moving on. So I was like, all right, great.
Yes, that's amazing.
Yeah.
So you can commit to points. They don't have to commit to like all these projects. And
These guys seriously like nickel and dime me on everything. So the fact that he signed off on like $1,000 price tag on something
and did he pay it
right away. I have to invoice him yet
Okay.
today. I had errands and things all afternoon. But yes, we'll get money before
That's awesome. It works, you guys. It works. But isn't that so? I assume that as soon as he saw, like, once you take that, like, your hourly rate and project cost, once you take that stuff out of the equation, they're just like, it feels like it's that much less committal.
Yeah, and I plugged it to him too. I was like, I want to do it this way because then I have the freedom to put in more time without worrying about going over your budget and things like that. I don't know. Yeah, they seemed on board for it.
Yeah. Yeah. So now it's just keeping a very consistent project management and showing them where those points are being used. Because it's also all about transparency and flexibility. So if you now plug this in once they sign that proposal and pay your invoice, plug this into your project management tool, and then you see each task assigned with the number of points. If they look at that and remind them that points equals effort on their side of things. So like they're essentially booking you at a project cost, and the points to them means how you're going to be allocating your time and focusing your efforts for each of the tasks. So whatever the primary project is should have the most points, and then making sure that you leave enough points for each round of revisions after that. Yay, that makes me so excited. Okay. Anybody else sell points yet? Come on.
I got a job.
Yeah, you got a job. That's okay. You get a pass. Okay, so proposals, you guys can start working on those now that you have the template, and then we'll have all sorts of new homework for this week. Oops. Okay. What is marketing? So this is a definition that you learn in college and generally don't think about again, but it's good for us to know and understand, especially if you don't have a business degree. So 3 things for marketing that you really have to do is provide a solution to an unfulfilled need in the marketplace, discover what services customers need and want, and then make them available. And then your business activities should be focused on satisfying your customer needs. I know this all sounds like super common sense, but in the startup world, I cannot tell you how many times I've had conversations with people that have supposedly brilliant business ideas, and then what does this provide a solution to an unfulfilled need in the marketplace? There's no need for it. Like, don't even waste your time. And that's why you do go through some validation and make sure that you have your marketing feet on the ground before taking it to the investor's room, right? So marketing is the process of planning and executing the conception, pricing, promotion, and distribution of ideas, goods, and services to create exchanges that satisfy individual and organizational objectives. So your organizational objective for you, yourself as a company, is to satisfy your customer needs. Sorry, I keep losing my mouse in here. Okay, and all of this is done by starting with defining your audience. So without understanding your audience, you may as well be talking to a wall. You really should take into consideration different segments of your audience. So rather than thinking of startups as a whole, maybe there's specific segments that you could focus on where maybe only women-founded startups, or startups that are in Chicago, or startups that are part of Bunker Labs, so veterans. Like, those are all segments. So market segmentation is the process of dividing a market of potential customers into groups or segments based on different characteristics. The segments created are composed of consumers who will respond similarly to marketing strategies, who share traits such as similar interests, needs, or locations. And then define the reasons why people are actually using your service and then why they'll benefit. So I was actually just playing, has anybody done marketing automation, like through MailChimp or anything at all, and how you can like get down into like lists and groups and segments?
Yeah,
and
ready.
Yeah, so this is, if you haven't done this process yet, I've learned a lot in working on it, but I just did everything through MailChimp. So I'm working on PointBook. So I'm trying to like set this up for PointBook, and I don't want to pay $300 a month for a marketing automation tool on a platform that's not generating any revenue.
100K is $30 a month, and it's super, super robust, but it's not. I didn't find it necessary until you get over 1,000.
Hello.
You get over 1,000 subscribers.
Yeah. So I ended up expanding, and I have a WordPress development background. It's been a long time since I actually like developed anything. So I ended up, it's all through WordPress and MailChimp to get everything connected and set up their automation. Yeah. So there is such a thing as like interest groups. So anyone who downloads a PDF or one of the free PDFs and is for like the 2-minute pitch, then they get automatically added to an interest group, which is a 2-minute PDF in the segmentation. And then that puts them, because they downloaded that PDF, they now get a whole list of automated emails based on that. And then if they do it again for another PDF, then they get a new list of automated emails. So marketing automation and segmentation. But it's important for you guys to think about when you are just beginning on honing in on who you should be talking to. Because I think it's really easy to be like, I'm a designer, someone hire me, anybody please. You know, and the general widespread tactic usually doesn't get you very far, or you'll just end up completely depleted and underwhelmed and exhausted, and you want to maximize your efforts.
The best thing you could do, like the 80-20, just collect email addresses and maybe like ask the question, like, what are your biggest pain points, and list some of your, what are your market's like challenges, and see, just collect the data. Like I didn't send anybody anything for a while as I was like ramping up and was just like so busy with client work and stuff like that. But at least I had like a freebie that was super easy to put together, and then I was collecting email addresses. But for the time that you want to like launch something or diversify your services with the product or something like that, if you have those email addresses, it equals $signs, like big time.
Yeah.
You'll have like someone to sell something to, or you'll have like an audience to like send an email to if you're like, I have one more spot in my design calendar. If anybody, it's the best thing you could do.
That's an awesome sales technique too.
Yeah.
Just one spot left.
It works every time.
Really?
2 spots.
Oh.
Because if it's 1 spot, then people will think, oh, it's probably already taken.
Oh.
But there's 2, then it's like maybe,
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Because then, so that's back to like when I was playing around with the points and trying to be like book your time, and like the points would be allocated per week, and that's like when I was playing around with the idea to like sprint with us and sell design sprint packages, which sounds fun, but turns out no company really has their shit together enough to be like, okay, we're gonna get this project done in 2 weeks, let's go. Very rarely does that happen. So I ended up getting rid of all like the time constraints and point expirations and whatnot. Okay, so I have this in a worksheet for you guys, but stuff for you to start thinking about when you're defining your audience. So now that we know what a marketing segment is, I want you to think about your who. So who are you targeting? And list 3 to 5 clear segments, and then primary and secondary for each. So primary audience for me could be startups in Chicago, and the secondary is women founders. Easy example. And then who are your existing customers and potential customers? How would you describe or profile your customers, and where are they located? Just some more questions to think about when you're trying to figure out your who, or who you're going to be targeting and talking to. And then what do they need? So write a pointed statement of what they need. Are you offering kinds of services that customers want at the best place, at the right price, and at the right amounts? And that's going to obviously be iterating and changing and moving. And the more you do this, the more you'll be able to figure this stuff out. But the point is to start thinking about how you have your clear segments, primary and secondary segments, a pointed statement of what they need, and then why they should work with you. And string these together as kind of like impact statements for who your audience is.
Don't be afraid to niche. I know it's scary and you feel like you're leaving money on the table or whatever, but people will still ask you outside of who you're marketing to specifically if they really like your work anyway. They'll ask always. And it's so much easier, like when you have a portfolio that is like, has a little bit of a theme to it, to attract, and you like that work, and and so you are a subject expert at that work, like the sales call is more effortless, and then you'll like the work that you're doing, and it'll attract, you'll grow your business faster, I feel like, in my experience. So it's sort of like don't be penny wise, pound foolish. I think that's the saying.
Yeah.
It's like you feel like you're leaving money on the table, so you want to market to everybody. You're actually leaving more money on the table by better, more specific targeted marketing to like a specific group.
Yes, target marketing.
Yeah.
One question.
Yeah.
Have either of you pivoted who you're marketing to? Like if you go really niche, like change that later, or
Totally.
I think I would say start niche, and then if it's not hitting, then broaden it. Maybe that's common sense, but when I first started, I was focused only on bootstrap startups, and then I was really stubborn on focusing only on bootstrap startups for a really long time, and then I realized from the time that I do have my initial conversation with them, yeah, I can help them pitch and get funding, but from the time they actually, like my first interaction with them to the time they get funding is super long time frame. So it's not a super awesome audience for me to focus specifically on. And then now it's kind of expanded into, well, client referrals. And then I've been doing this for a few years now. So the clients that I did, or the startups that I did talk to back in 2013, have, some of them have come back around where they have money. So it changes too as time goes on. And then eventually it does just become a referral business.
Your business is like alive. It's like a Google Doc. Like it's live, like it's ever changing. You're going to learn, every client you have, you'll learn something, and every, potential client call, you'll learn something. And it's definitely it's a fluid process. So like, it's not like you decide that you're going to have this market. Things happen really organically as well.
Mm-hmm.
So your messaging will adjust, your like communication, and like, for me, like I learned, like I was like reflected back from clients, like things that they really loved that I did that was different. And then I would include that in my next call. And so it's definitely a living, breathing, changing, constantly thing. And just, I felt like I learned, every client, I learned something and was able to, the more nimble and flexible you are, but with that like intention and purpose and like direction, I think, yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah. I think I went broad and then went niche and then maybe add it. We're talking about like 2 or 3 or 4. You can always like add another market or segment
Mm-hmm.
as well.
Yeah. Yeah. And then I think I mentioned this last week too. If you have like 2 completely different audiences, there's nothing wrong with having 2 different websites.
Okay.
And yeah, and like completely targeting yourself towards corporations, for example, versus just small mom and pop businesses. Granted, those are 2 very different types of clients. I doubt that, and I shouldn't say I doubt that clients or corporations work with the same type of companies that do SMBs, but really?
I have a friend that is a
Depends on what you
branding
do.
consultant. Yeah, but she'll work with large companies to offer like B2B2C, right?
So
like
really?
help large companies offer workshops to their employees.
Oh,
and then she'll have like the smaller businesses and be like the interim CMO type of thing. So with her website, I was just helping her strategically, and it was like making her website sort of like a choose your own adventure, like, and then whoever the visitor is, like pick the experience, like whether they are the like, business owner or the organization, and then clicking into, and then sort of offering.
Yeah, and then I guess my point to that is you don't want to, like, if you do offer a wide variety of services, you don't want to come off as diluted by putting all of them in one spot when they're really just 2 completely different audiences and have no business being right next to each other. Okay, so the who, what, and why, and then we have your audience currently, and then your competitors. So for your audience, it helps now to go back and describe who your first followers are or will be, what they like to do outside of work, where they like to hang out, what they like to eat. All of this stuff is important to take into consideration, especially as you're thinking about where should I go networking, and maybe I do already have a niche audience that I just need to start capturing or focusing on. And then your competitors, this is the most important piece, I think. I spend far too much time, I call them my crushes, like design crushes, and I go through so many of them. But how are your competitors doing their marketing? What are they marketing? What are their differentiators? Make a list of their Dream 100. This is a crucial thing to do, where you can go and analyze what their marketing strategy is. Look at their social media and see what their content strategy is. How often are they posting? What types of things are they posting? How are they capturing leads on their website? Have you actually reached out to them? What was the first interaction with them like? Like, pretend, reach out to them. Do your research. And then keep all of them in a list. I say Dream 100. I stole that from a podcast that I listened to, or used to listen to. It was what's his name? He does ClickFunnels.
Oh.
It's super like, he's the one that coined the term sales funnels. It's okay if you want to listen to it. I just say it's kind of like culty.
James Wedmore?
No, it's not him. I can't remember. It's not important. Yeah, he gets kind of culty, but whatever.
Sorry, the idea of the Dream 100 though is just a list of like
it's
your favorite competitors
yes.
or people
Companies,
that you like the work that they do.
Companies that you love. Yep.
Neil Patel?
Huh?
Neil Patel?
No, Brunson, something Brunson. I can't remember his name. Yeah, keep them in a spreadsheet. It doesn't have to be 100. It could be like 20 that you go through and like thoroughly analyze and figure out what they're doing. That's the whole point of the exercise. Okay, on to strategy. So we've defined what marketing is. You, at this point, now have an idea of who your audience is. You can start off with 3 to 5 audiences, your target audiences. And now for your strategy. This makes it sound so simple. Identify your target market, define your products and services, outline your pricing strategy, describe how you will sell your services, develop a promotion strategy, review your competition, and then prepare a marketing budget. So you guys have done, after today, you'll have time to focus on defining who your target market is. We are also going to be wrapping up the point book process. You are going to have your full list of products and services, including your pricing strategies that's integrated with point book. And then next week, we're going to talk about selling, and then develop a promotion strategy. So I do have some of that in this presentation as well. Review your competition, and then prepare a marketing budget. So like that's once you're like, if you're ready to go out and start flying, you know, there is, we can talk a little bit about when it's right to buy promotional materials or become a sponsor of an event, and we'll probably save this conversation for the last week when we talk about tying this all together and like how you can become a sponsor for an event in turn for, most of the time they'll be like, hey, can you do the website for this event? And then you'll be a featured sponsor. And when is the right time you should be doing that or shouldn't do that and whatnot. Okay, maximum impact strategy. Again, with defining who your audience is you want to, when you actually start promoting yourself, and for social, I say start with one platform. Craft your tone to each audience. Do not have one message for all audiences, because that just won't work. And then identify people that are actually interested in your products and services at that moment. So don't try and reach everyone at once. Hone each message to each audience for your maximum impact. I know that sounds like common sense, but depends on how granular you want to get, even for your social strategy. As you're thinking about your content buckets and what you want to share in your marketing calendar. I also have a marketing calendar template for you guys. Your message that you share on LinkedIn is going to be very different than the one that you put on Instagram. So honing your tone to each audience. For example, so if you could define 7 foundational topics for your company, and these will serve as guidelines for your messaging. Choose topics that directly relate to what you do, and then pro tip, select a non-business topic to show a little humanity. It's like, no, there is a human behind this. I do exist. So example topics, these are what I have for mine when I was really adamant about posting on social.
How is your dog not on there?
Well, personal.
Oh.
Personal. So this week in startups, the Lord style, blog share, behind the scenes, music, personal, and then article share, for example.
Being known for something really, really works. Like Jenna Kutcher
Yeah.
and mac and cheese, or like
Yeah.
people that do that really, really well. It's like however, like if you're quirky, like use it.
Yeah.
You know, use it with your business.
Because my quirk.
Yeah.
It was wine. And I can't drink wine right now. So that's sad. And then plan out your contact points. So what they will see from you and when on a daily, weekly, monthly, and then even yearly level. Let me go show you what I am talking about.
It's really interesting because for a long time, like the more like the trend was to automate and then automate. And then there's this trend now of just like stopping all the automation and just being super, super not authentic, but in the moment. And people are just getting more personal in branding and marketing and spur of the moment and not as perfect looking. And really focusing on the content of the message and not so much the image. It's just really interesting.
So this is an example strategy that you guys could employ. So 1 topic per day. So that's why I say 7 topics. You could do 5 if you only want to post during the week. There's also automation tools like Calendly is one that I think that'll actually allow you to post to Instagram automated. I don't know if they changed that.
Planoly.
Planoly.
is a online meeting scheduler.
Oh, no, it's
Planoly.
Is that what there's something else for Instagram too? I can't remember.
Planoly is great.
Is
I
it?
have it. I actually
Okay.
need to cancel that. But
Yeah.
it actually posts too. It didn't do that
Really?
until this
Okay.
month.
No way. I know
Instagram
there's
API did not allow for,
Instagram was holding out.
Yeah, they just opened it.
Mm-hmm.
Planoly, you can plan your Instagram images and then it'll actually, you can set it and forget it or it would just send it to your phone.
How do you spell that?
Planoly. There's only a couple of like preferred Instagram partners. They're one of them, and it's $9 a month.
Sounds like it's worth it.
Yeah, it's designed really well. The UI is so pretty, and their branding is so awesome.
Yay.
It's definitely like a inspiration brand.
So the point in laying this stuff out is that you can go ahead and do this month by month, because this does become really cumbersome, especially if you're doing this on 4 different social platforms. So using an automation tool would be really helpful, or you can do it yourself. But then ideally you could do this the month ahead of time. And if you're writing blog posts, you could do, I'm going to do 4 blog posts per month. I'm going to write them all the month ahead of time. And then, some people are awesome at writing. You could like pound them out in one day. Me, on the other hand, it takes me like a week just to think about it, and then maybe I'll write. But the point is to get them all scheduled, get them reviewed, edited, and then you can schedule them so that they'll post throughout the month, at the beginning of the month. And then for social stuff, you could, some of it's kind of like, there's like obviously like live posts and stuff, but like this is just like things that won't be changing too much, because you can still share live to your channels.
And then look at like what projects are wrapping up and like tell stories around your project and your experiences, and you can sort of map that out a little bit, like when projects start or when projects end.
Yeah, exactly. It could be like Portfolio Thursdays where I share like some random piece of my portfolio. The point is that you can like just copy paste and from here and put it onto everything, so you don't have to sit down every morning and be like, what should I post on Facebook today?
And I'm like a perfectionism freeze person, and it's worse to not post anything. It's better to post anything imperfectly. I promise.
Yeah. Consistency. All about the frequency and recency. That's what it is.
I have a question. So when you have every day listed out, is that for like all like Instagram posts, or like those are separate? Like that Sundays Facebook, Mondays Instagram, Tuesdays like.
If you wanted to do it that way, I was posting on all channels.
Oh, all channels for each of them. Oh,
yeah,
okay.
but I recommend you start with 1 one channel, and once you get the hang of that, then you can kind of expand into others.
Different channels have different audiences.
Exactly, yeah.
And then you might see, like for me, Instagram, I was getting a lot more new business inquiries with not appropriate budgets. And I was like, well, this is working, except this is not my target market. Facebook has an older audience. That was my target market more. And then that is like a whole different strategy.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, pick one and or it's so overwhelming.
Yeah.
So
and you're posting as your business, not you, right? Like this.
Yeah, there's a
you could say our founder.
And then what point, I mean, it's like you start your account, you have 0 followers, and then you're still posting 7 times a week to 0 people.
You can invite all your friends. Everyone has what, like
Friends,
at least
family
500
members.
plus friends on Facebook.
It's all about the hash. Like if we're talking about Instagram, then it's like start using hashtags. And then for me, what really worked on Instagram was, tell a story and use the right hashtags, and then find people through hashtags that are your target audience and say, hey, like, love your feed. I just posted about, morning rituals or like productivity hacks. Like, would you mind sharing yours? And like, I would ask people like super humanly, that's the word, to add their tip on and it just kind of like my Instagram like blew up by doing that.
That's awesome.
I would spend 10 minutes a day.
Authenticity, I think, is key. It's hard to come off not as a robot.
Yeah, if you can add like at the end of wherever you're posting a question or something that's engagement, driven. Yeah. And then invite people to engage with it.
Yeah. Yeah. It's all about engagement. But then I was posting on platforms more for brand awareness. I never necessarily intended, aside from LinkedIn, to use social networks to generate business for myself. It was more, because then I started recruiting and trying to expand my team. And so I use that for very different goals. But
it's a portfolio, regardless.
And it also adds credibility, because when clients are looking into you too, they want to see your authentic self through your brand, which reminds me, I think I need to update my Instagram. Not just update it, but I think the plugin stopped working on my website.
Oops.
Okay, so you have it on your daily, and now weekly, or this should be monthly. Let me change it. Monthly goals. So think about a high level of what you want to, if you want to start setting goals. So 2,000 likes, 5,000 likes, you want to have 10,000 likes on Instagram before the end of this year. If you want to start coinciding this with campaigns that you're running and how you're going to be sharing that, if you want to do a campaign each month, every month, or every other month, 4 campaigns a year to generate traffic to specific channels, to your website, how you want to start doing this stuff. So I will share this. And then I'll also share this guy with you guys. So defining your audience. So I think, like I said, if you use this worksheet, I think it'll help you guys start writing things out. I'm such a visual person, like even writing things down and tying it all together for when you get to this, because I am targeting who, because they need help with what, and I will help them by why, is what you want to get to.
And sorry, that said first followers. Are your first literally the first people that start following you? I mean, won't that just be your friends and family if that's who you're inviting first, and then you're targeting your friends and family?
So I would go one step beyond that. Not friends and family, obviously, unless they're paying you. First person that's going to give you money for doing something. And then why did they give you money? Like your first follower for using your new point system is this client that just paid you money. What was right with this client? Why did they now? Because you said they were kind of like nickel and diming you before, and now like obviously this new approach works. So this is something that you're going to try and repeat again with a new client. Use the points again.
If you build it, they will come.
Oh, so you say.
Yeah.
Okay, so before your first campaign, with your first followers or current clients that you have a good relationship with, start 5 conversations with them. And I suggest you do this in a very friendly way. People like helping people. If you reach out to someone and tell them that you need help and then make them feel, they'll feel special and usually we'll have no problem jumping on a half an hour or 45-minute phone call with you or meeting up for a coffee on buying. But what you want to do is get into a conversation with them to help understand their needs, and then, if possible, record their conversations. I find it really helpful, even for me, for generating content now for myself and writing blogs. I record what my idea is to write about, and then I'll go back and type it up, just because I'm a horrible writer. I know that about myself. So it helps to go back and be able to listen to it again and again.
These are great questions for social media too. Just pull content ideas from.
Yeah.
If you can get people to engage with you.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
Yeah. From a real life engagement. So ask them, describe your typical project or client for your business, and then ask them what their primary source of revenue, what their biggest challenge is right now, where would they like to spend more time doing if they could. If money wasn't an issue, what would be the ideal world for you? Create these impact statements where they're going to generate conversation and give you guys a lot to talk about. Like, by the time you get to question number 4, hopefully like 25 minutes have already gone by, and like the client will just be talking and talking and talking and sharing from their experience and helping you, right? As part of your research. Action items that you can do before your first campaign. So send an email to your list. I say ask your this is bad, but ask your parents for their Gmail contacts. You can export them as a CSV. Export your contacts as a CSV. Send a very what's the word I'm thinking of?
Apologetic?
Not apologetic. Well, sure. I mean, it's to an extent.
I did this.
Yeah.
I pulled all of I had like 400 people. I put, and it was a catch up. It was was a personal, it's been a while, like catching up was and I had a great response rate, and 5 people literally of 400 unsubscribed. And it was just like, here's what I've been doing. Here's some milestones I've hit. If you don't want updates from me, like here's the unsubscribe thing, and just, the first one's sort of informal, and then just tell them what to expect and then let them unsubscribe. Yeah. You could also say, if you want to subscribe, here's the button, you're not subscribed, and send it once, but. Yeah.
But you could also just type this up in a Gmail email and ask for help through that. And kind of like reintroduce yourself for what you're doing, for how you're using your point system now and what services you're offering. Once you have your website up and ready and you're ready to drive traffic to it. And then email your current and past clients. So I would say that's like a separate email. You can create templates for, I guess, both. So a template for like generic, like I need your help, I'm reintroducing myself, and then your current clients, and then another one for your past clients, and then presenting a new service as well, and then how you're going to promote it on social. So that's all stuff that you can start doing now before your first campaign. But I would recommend you do that once you have your full system set up and your proposal process in place and a place to capture leads at a bare minimum. It could even just be, if you have a website, it could just be a landing page on your website. That's more than enough in my book to get you guys started.
Keep it simple. If you want to do like a once a month email and have it be a blog roundup with just links, drive traffic to your site, but it'd be just milestones, like fun things I've read, like inspiration, like projects, and project work. Like people love seeing that stuff and they love to help. So, and then have like book a call with me, or like something that you can forward that's like a solid call to action if somebody wants to engage with you.
Yeah. So this is HubSpot. This calendar for booking a meeting. I don't know if there's other third party. I'm sure there are.
Calendly.
Calendly does this too.
It's free for one meeting type.
Yeah. So
and you can embed it anywhere.
This honestly works as my personal assistant too. When I'm like even just trying to book networking meetings, I can just be like, sure, choose a time that works for yourself. Then, all right, so creating a marketing campaign. So where are you driving traffic to? Is it a website, landing page, Facebook page, a retail store? How are you tracking? Are you using Google Analytics? Are you tracking the leads generated through MailChimp? Are you using a CRM? What is your measure of success? Like, is this going to be a brand awareness? Is your measure of success going to be on the number of clients that turn around, or number of like conversions that you have for sales? How are you collecting leads? Is it HubSpot? I recommend HubSpot. I might be, I think it's, they do have a startup one. I think that's what I'm on. I think it's $10 a month.
Oh.
Yeah.
That's what I thought too.
They have one that you can apply for startups. That's what I'm on. I don't know other CRMs. I know there's a bunch of free ones or freer ones.
Oh yeah.
I don't have a list off the top of my head.
You just Google search. There's a million. You can see which one works best.
Yeah.
Is it Teamwork like a CRM? Does it have like CRM? Is it more project management?
So I haven't looked into it as a CRM. When I say CRM, customer relationship management tool. And I know that they do have something that, I know you can send an email, like to update a project task via email, but I don't know that I would use that function as a CRM. And then, yeah, so how are you collecting leads? It's going to be people that just respond to an email. Are they liking something? And I have this for you guys, a sample creative brief. So before you begin any campaign, use corners and it gets all messed up.
You gotta go to the mouse.
It's not. I'm stuck on the screen. There we go. So I have a creative brief template, and then I also have an example because I know some of the feedback that I got from the last session was, okay, so this template is fine, but like, what do I actually write? So you guys can use this. This is all the same stuff that's in the presentation. So your target audiences, and this is if you're putting this together for a client and you are acting as the creative director for a project, for example. So project description, what is the communication supposed to do? We use this at the Tribune, actually. Your target audiences, who the primary and secondary audiences are, strategic drivers, insight, primary messages, secondary messages, call to action, creative tone, deliverables. Mandatories is something that's really important to think about because the last thing you want to do is design an ad or something for someone and then like, oh, by the way, I need to fit these 10 logos on it. Okay, well, why didn't you say that in the first place? And then timing. So here is an example of one that I did for a startup client of mine a while back, just to give you an idea of how I use this. So insight, administrators and principals understand the need and struggle for parent-teacher engagement. The client was a parent-teacher engagement app. And and then coming up with a couple of primary messages along with the secondary messages, and then that was content that was then used as a base to generate the rest of the marketing materials. There was a webinar.
Sorry, this is you making marketing materials for somebody else, not yourself.
Yes. Yes, but I want to encourage you guys to do this for yourself because you are your own client. And I know it's very, very hard when you're working that close to the fire, but it's necessary. You guys get yourself going. And then for timing, adding in a calendar. This is an engagement campaign that we created to generate traffic to a website. And I believe we also did a direct mailer for these guys too. And the direct mailer it actually had a phenomenal response because people take you serious. If you advertise for a webinar in mail, like, what?
That was kind of radical.
Yeah. So this is a template for you guys. So you can use it for yourself. You can also use it for potential clients. But this is when you have all of your marketing ducks in a row and you're ready to actually start promoting, I want you to have all your bases covered and set yourself up for success, which is done when you start thinking about all of this stuff from a high-level creative direction. And marketing tactics. So use carefully crafted copy to target each of your audience segments. And then to build traffic to your website, here's a few strategies. So you have your website, everybody's starting off with 0. How do you start generating traffic to it? Guest blogging is a really easy way. So lots of people love having guest blogs where that's great. Like, let someone else generate this content for me this week. I don't have to do this. I know one of the guys in my group from last year or from last session, he was a guest blogger on Envision, and he got quite a bit of traffic from them. And they're always looking for design topics and obviously focused on UX. But you can reach out to Envision for an example to get yourself started. Public speaking is a great way to get started. Jen Lemmerend, she'll say that everyone should be a mentor at some point. Like, next session, one of you guys should lead this group. Public speaking, get your name out there, start making an awareness for your passion and what you do. Pay-per-click, that's a super shitty way to start, but if you wanted to, you can. Many e-commerce places, especially for e-commerce, it's kind of like where you have to start, but maybe not for services per se. But blogging and content generation, content is king. So again, it adds an extra layer of credibility when people are looking into you and your brand and authenticity. And then you can also tie this into SEO and a keyword strategy. And then pretty soon when your website starts showing up on Google results and start generating traffic to you that way. And SEO is a whole nother ballgame, which I'm not even going to touch. So
You'll be glad you niched.
Yeah. And then build your email list. So like I said, like, ask for your parents' emails or better yet, ask them to send out an email for you to all of their contacts to generate traffic to your website. Yeah. Premium content downloads. So that falls into like what I was talking about, what I was trying to do with Point Book. And if I have like a freemium download that people can buy, and then how do I track that lead and put it into a segment so that I get triggered with a flow of automatic emails that provide engagement to continue having the users come back to the website. I think it's an overly robust idea for just service providers, but if you wanted to go that way, it's possible. I think it could be really unique if you have something interesting. Attending a free webinar, free consultation. Once you have a list and you want to start promoting yourself and making yourself look as like the voice of authority, put on a webinar. Come up with 20 slides that works for you guys and that's focused on your niche audience, and see if you can get 10 people to sign up. That's 10 people that you never met before that could potentially turn into clients.
I offered free, what I called a quick win brand audit. where I would look at their site or look at their brand and just give quick, like just intuitive, like here's how you could DIY even to make it better, and just sort of offered that like a 30-minute thing, and it converted really nicely. And it was sort of a way to like get people just like to have that first call and then sort of pull from your intuition and sort of like how you could help, and then get people really excited about what's possible.
Yeah, I think if I can talk to someone, I'm like 70% sure that they're going to turn into a client, or that they will turn into a client, because then when I talk to them, they understand the value of what it is that I do, and they're talking to you for a reason. They're obviously interested in what you do, you know. But how do you find the people to talk to in the first place, right?
Mine was like it was a Facebook group that was like full of these like coaches, and one of my niches was like life and business coaches, like. So it was in that group that, you know, it's like really specific things like that. The Facebook groups are huge for like whatever your niche is. Throwing something like free out there that helps.
Yeah.
Great.
Okay. Covers the marketing. Do we have any questions about marketing? You guys inspired?
Is there any way to do it without so much social media? No.
Yeah, I mean, you could do it all face-to-face networking. That's where I found the majority of my clients when I first started doing the hustle.
Eventually it's a
Every single
referral.
day.
It's just
And then it
staying in
turns into a
business,
referral. Yeah.
What you always say.
Last man standing.
Last man standing.
Yeah. But you should have all of this stuff set up regardless. It's just part of doing business in 2018. Okay, who wants to do the client role play with me? Okay, this is an easy one.
Should I read the background?
Yeah, if you could start with the background.
You met John at a generic networking event, and he just followed up with you a few weeks later, mentioning that he needs some design help. He's trying to get a sign printed, but needs help preparing his design files for the printer. Hi, John. It was great meeting you at the event. How can I help?
Yeah, it's nice to meet you too. You see, I'd like to get the sign printed, but I'm having some trouble working with the printer. I have Photoshop, and I can send you my file. Can you just take a look at this and let me know what I'm doing wrong?
Sure, send it over and I'll take a look. Typically, I charge my hourly rate, but since you're just asking for help, I'll take a look. Oh, sorry. After opening the file and see that he needs a designer, it looks like you need to use your vector logo. I would just find/replace your link with the vector.
So what's a vector? I'm not sure I have that. Can you just do a click for me?
So a vector logo is something that's never going to be pixelated or look weird when it's scaled really big or really small. So it's kind of the best version of your logo to have, because it can be printed on anything. It is not something I would, I don't know.
So how do I know so that's what a vector is, but like, how do I know if I have this file?
Okay, so there are two different file types that it could be. It could be a .eps file, or it could be a .ai file. Sometimes PDFs are, but generally they're not.
Okay. So if I send you a PDF, can you relink it for me?
I could look and see if it would work, but if you would need to redesign it, I would have to charge you for that, because that would take a while.
So is a relink just a redesign?
No.
So, okay, so can I send you a PDF?
Sure, and then I can take a look at it and see if that will work.
Okay. All right, so you look at the PDF and
you can say it doesn't work.
All right, so now this is already a follow-up conversation,
Yeah,
right? So you
so
already
it's
like
hard.
hung up and you moved on, and I sent you files, and you've engaged working with the client for free.
Okay.
So what would you say? What would you say to John before sending a PDF? Just go back to this. Can you just do this quick for me? Is that okay?
I would have to charge you for that. I was just trying to help you out and look at your file, and I see that you need something different that is going to be more work.
Okay, well, what's your hourly rate? How long do you think this would take?
That all depends on what you have. If we have to recreate it, it's going to take longer. I work on a point-based system, so I'd have to see what I need, and we can assign a certain amount of points, and you can purchase those points, and then we can go from there.
So what's your hourly rate? Like how much can I expect? So we don't know if he has a vector, right?
Right.
Yet. And so there's two things. It could go one of two ways. He could magically find this vector file.
Yeah.
Which this guy has no idea what he's doing. He's not going to find a vector file for you.
Yeah.
And then for this instance, let's just say that. But we don't know that yet. Or it's going to be just essentially a design update where you're going to go in and just relink and save out the file.
Right.
But all right, so let's go that route. Say that we do have the file and that you are going to just relink it for me. So, okay, so if I have this EPS, can you relink it for me? Like, what would that cost?
That would be a standard production cost I have, which is a certain 1 point, and you can purchase that 1 point for $25.
Okay.
$50.
All right, sure. Let's do it. Good. Okay, so he did convert into a client. That's fine, but $25 is way underneath what your minimum threshold should be for clients. So now if he comes back to you again with another project that maybe is a little bit more involved and not just a product change or production change, he's going to expect that you continue to work at the production rate.
Yeah, okay.
So what do you think we should do instead of offering to go through and do the production rate, production change?
It doesn't meet your minimum.
Maybe. Anybody else?
Tell him you can vectorize his current file for however many points.
Okay, whatever your project minimum is. So it's most likely going to be kind of a lot just for revectoring a logo, right? Yeah. What else do you think we should do?
You could tell them that, but then say you can also do like an assessment of what other like needs he has, and if there's other services you offer that might fit that, then you can like bundle that together, and hopefully it would hit a minimum, and it's like a win-win.
Okay, yeah, so that's good. So like use this as an opportunity because you already have him on the phone and he already needs your services to sell him, essentially. Don't sell yourself short. Don't start working at a production rate where you're gonna inadvertently lock yourself in. But it sounds simple, but it's complicated. Like this stuff happens all the time. But yeah, like use this as an opportunity to sell your services and then explain how you work and maybe give an example of how the points work, especially if it's something that clients have never heard of before, rather than someone just saying like, oh, well, it's a point. And then they're like, what? I don't know what I'm talking about. I always follow that up with an example to get people started.
What is like the least awkward way of getting someone to pay you, I guess? Like I still struggle with that transactional part where someone's actually like giving me money. Like I'm sure a lot of people don't struggle with that, but
so like how do you what's the part that you're struggling with?
I don't know, I guess just everything around money, I guess.
Okay. So you're using points.
Which the point thing actually does help.
Yeah.
Like that probably will take care of a lot of it. Especially when it's someone like I know, if there's a referral and I'm basically talking to someone that's either my friend or almost my friend, and then we're talking about them paying me, like I personally start to feel secretly inside awkward sometimes, or like it's hard for me to tell someone to pay me like however much, you know what I mean?
I think it does get easier over time. The longer you do this, then it's easier, but like that's just part of doing business. I would not come to it with the mindset of being awkward or asking for money, because that's just like, you are doing services and this is what it costs for me to do these services. I think if you could automate part of this process, it's easier. So by the time, so I send the proposal, a lot of times the clients will just sign it and then they already know that the next step is to receive an invoice. And then I just send them an invoice, no questions asked. So like, you don't even have to make it, like if you don't want to talk about it afterwards, then you don't have to talk about it afterwards. And then if the client does want to push back and say in the kickoff call, introduce a new set of challenges that will require more points, then that's when it's really easy to use a point system and push back on them with that, where I wasn't aware of these requirements when we had our initial kickoff call. I'm estimating this is going to take another 5 points, so that'll be $500. Is that something that you guys are okay with? And most of the time we'll just be like, sure, no problem, usually. But yeah, I think if you could automate that so you don't have to talk about them, like they see your numbers in the proposal, then yeah.
Okay. Not to be like coachy, but don't give away your power. And these people, they're either used to talking about budgets, like if it's like a company where there's no emotion in it. Like it's emotional for you because this is your business, but like take the emotion out of it. It's just a part of the transaction. And then if it is more personal, like a whatever, they're as awkward as you are, and you set the tone for how comfortable the thing's going to be. You're the service provider. The more confident you are, the more comfortable they are. So if you can just get down your spiel and whatever your boundaries are, and just put the ball in their court and just focus on how excited you are to help them with the project. Mm-hmm. And you totally understand wherever they're at. And like, if it's outside of their budget, then like, how can I help? And focus on that and bring that energy to it. It doesn't have to be awkward at all. Okay. But you set the tone.
Yeah. And I think like, if it is out of their budget and, okay, well, what can I do that is in their budget? Then, you have to make sure that you're
keep your boundaries.
Don't start expanding that scope just because you talked about these other services and like you are working with them on a minimum. So that's a really easy way for them to kind of like try and rope you in and be like, oh, well, you said you could do this. Could you just please? No, sorry.
And then have somebody in your back pocket that you know is less expensive, that maybe lives in a lower cost of living city.
Strategic partners, seriously, yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
What is your minimum project?
I say 500, but I would like it to be 1,000. Because it takes a long time from the time I start talking with the clients to when they actually pay me sometimes. And granted, it depends on the people's and what their requirements are and like when their turnaround time is. Because I've also had the other side of things where I've turned around clients in less than an hour before, and then it's usually a rush project. And
will you ever sell a set of points for a project knowing that it's not enough points to do everything they want, but maybe they're not comfortable buying?
Then it's not
20 points out of the gate.
Then it's not the right client for you. Okay. Yeah, then you got to move on to a different client. I mean, I get it. It's hard if you're freelancing that. If this is the client that's going to make you be able to pay rent this month and you kind of have to do that, then that's fine. But what all of this is setting you up to work towards is finding those blue chip clients that are going to pay you what you're worth on a recurring basis.
And say you can buy the package, or let's just do this part of the project. But yeah, don't sell more points. It's like, if they can't afford the two things, like then just say, don't buy 10 points, buy 8 points. Let's do this project, instead of like having it be like a gray, awkward, you know what I mean? Like that they want to do this, but they only have 2 and they need 5 more.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And then trying to get them to buy it. You know what I mean? Is that what you were asking?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, kind of back to what I was asking before about like selling like, points in terms of like revisions or something like that. Mm-hmm. Or even like, I guess the people I was dealing with today, for instance, like I I bid out and like sent them something for one portion of their project. And then when I talked to them, they were like, no, we actually need this portion of the project. Let's take the 10 points and put it towards that, I guess.
Yeah.
They still want to do all this other stuff. So I'm wondering if I'm like, am I okay? Like, yeah, okay, let's do 10 points and put it towards this stuff. And maybe a couple of the points will go into this other thing. Or if I need to like hold the phone, like if you want to do it all together, it's really going to be this many points right out of the gate.
So like, maybe I'm not understanding. So you're doing some of the project now and then some of the project later?
I was under the impression that they needed like signage and promotional materials first and like menu materials second.
Yeah.
So I bid out points on signage and promo materials for them and pitched them that.
Yeah.
And they came back and were like, hey, we love the points. We want to buy 10 points. Let's do it. We need the menus first.
Okay. So those are, I mean, I would say like the points are all flexible. They can be allocated to whatever is the priority on your task list. That being said, and I think this is right? Where you bid 10 points on 2 projects, but now there's 3 projects for 10 points. Is that what happened?
2 projects bid on 1 project. Yes.
Yes.
You got it.
Yeah, you could push back on them and be like, look, the original proposal that I sent was for these 2 projects. If this is something that you absolutely have to have, then that's going to be an additional 5 points.
Would you
or
suggest
if you already,
you like, so then for the for this menu, do you suggest him saying, okay, just buy 8 points now, in full, and then revisit and like sell the second, have them have a great experience, whatever, and then
sell them.
I mean, it sounded like they almost wanted more of these like concept stuff and different like
or
brand direction ideas. So I was just like, that's why I was like, well, I'll just buy 5 points and we can do the initial round of concepting for this thing.
Yeah.
And they were like, no, we want 10 points. So I didn't want to tell them, no, don't give me the money. Like,
I mean, I think just tell them that like the points are flexible. We're gonna do the best we can to get all of your tasks done within this, but like, and just be like, based on my experience and what you're looking for, I think that at some point you're going to have to buy an additional round of points.
Or even just line item out like what those extra 2 points will cover of that signage. Yeah,
include that. I include like optional bullet points on my proposal sometimes where I'm like, I have a 5-point option for extra tasks as well. So it'll be like the points for the part of my a part of their package that we negotiated, and then because packages are baselines to start the conversation, so oftentimes they do get somewhat customized. And then if we talked about options, then I'll just add that in and be like, I have a 5-point option for this, a 10-point option for this, and let me know which you prefer, and then I'll send you an invoice for that. But for now, let's just pay for the package to get you started.
Or you could just go back to them and be like, okay, I've reallocated the points. We're a couple short for the signage. Do you want to include that now, or should we invoice you for that later? See what they say.
Yeah, and part of it'll be being abundantly clear on your project management process. So you have your agenda for every single meeting, right? You go over what your task is and then reiterate the number of points that you're expected to use for each task. And I think if you're completely clear in the communication, then there should be no surprise on your end or their end when the time comes to buy a new set of points. Okay. Well, discussion. That's what we're doing. So this week's homework. Generate your task lists. So thinking about this in your project management tool. So you have your packages. You can either just bullet point list this out in your packages, or if you wanted to set this up as templates in your project management tool, if you did decide to start using something like Teamwork, start saving out this as templates. And then define your terms. So really start thinking about what you want them to be. So 15-day payment terms, 30-day payment terms, 50 up front, 50 on back. Are you going to have anything in there where there's a 5-point minimum purchase? Are you going to add in like what were you talking about last week? A renewal fee,
restart fee.
Yeah, a restart fee. Re-engagement fees, rush charges. Start thinking about all of that stuff.
Of at least $500. It's going to be a tool get your project done.
Okay, so complete the first or the last stuff for point books, and then we can start talking about selling next week. And then define your audience, and then create your marketing calendar. So I have both of those templates for you guys ready to go that I'm going to send out.
Can you send us the PDFs of like last class and this class too? Your like whole
Yeah.
presentation things?
Yeah, I can do that. I will do that now. Okay. Right at 7 o'clock.
6:59.
6:59. 1 minute early. Punctual.
I think the best thing you could do is not avoid communication and like, especially even if it's like just take the money and deal with it later, it'll bite you in the ass every time.
Yeah.
You know. Is that fun?
Yeah.
Money.
It's daunting.
It feels like a lot.
Yeah.
It's a lot. It is so a lot. That's why it's like one network, just one post per day if you can, for Monday through whatever, and
Yeah. Start small. Yeah.
ease
You
into
definitely
it.
don't have to go crazy and set yourself up with a full creative brief yet, but
If you're saying something's better than, like something that's like, is better than that.
yes,
And if it
because
overwhelms you,
otherwise
just-
people don't hear, they don't know about you then. They don't see you. It's all about frequency and recency, being top of mind, and that's what social engagement is.
Why it matters is that you're gonna freak out when you need to pay your rent and your pipeline is like there's like nothing coming because
Yeah.
social media has just been too overwhelming. Like if social is overwhelming to you, like go to a networking event, like wherever those like sweet spots are for you, or just do anything and try anything at first, but build the pipeline. We'll talk about that next week.
Yeah.
Okay. So that you're not freaking out about rent.
So I have like some questions about like the proposal.
We'll see you guys. We'll see you 2 weeks now, actually. Yeah. Because we don't have next week, 2 weeks.
Are you gonna like tell us like the order, like will you send the proposal like after you have the first conversation with them?
Yeah.
And then they'll kind of give you an idea of what they want. So like, okay, I'll send you the proposal.
Yeah.
And then they sign that, and then you do the onboarding.
And then I send them the invoice.
Oh, the
And
invoice.
then once they pay their invoice, then I schedule the onboarding call.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And is the proposal like enough of a contract, or do you have to send like another contract?
For me, it's been enough of the contract.
Really?
I do have a big formal one, but most of the time you won't get a client to sign it.
Okay.
More often than not, because you are a consultant coming in to work with them on their firm, they may have you sign one.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay.
It just doesn't really work like that.
Nobody ever reads the fine print.
Yeah. Do you ever like just cold send out proposals, like to someone you think you might want to work out with, and just be like, hey,